If you are well, it is well, and I am also well. Welcome to the Stoic Cat. The Stoics advise us to seek tranquility and offer guidance on how best to attain said tranquility. They counsel us, for example, not to seek fame and fortune, since doing so will likely disrupt our tranquility. They warn us to be careful in choosing our associates. Other people, after all, have the power to shatter our tranquility if we let them. They go on to offer advice on how to deal with insults, anger, grief, exile, old age, etc., etc. On examining our life, we will find that other people are the source of some of the greatest delights life has to offer, including love and friendship. But we will also discover that they are the cause of most of the negative emotions we experience. Even when other people don't do anything to us, they can disrupt our tranquility. We typically want others, friends, relatives, neighbors, co-workers, and even complete strangers to think well of us. We fear that we will make the wrong choices and that other people will therefore think poorly of us. Notice too that to afford socially desirable clothes, cars, and houses, we have to work for a living and will probably experience anxiety in connection with our job. And even if, through our efforts, we succeed in gaining the admiration of others, our tranquility is likely to be upset by the feelings of envy that other, less successful people direct towards us. Seneca said it well. To know how many are jealous of you, count your admirers. In addition, we will have to deal with the envy that we feel toward those who have enjoyed even greater success than we have. Because the Stoics valued tranquility, and because they appreciated the power other people have to disrupt our tranquility, we might expect them to have lived as hermits and to advise us to do the same. But the Stoics did no such thing. They thought that man is by nature a social animal and therefore that we have a duty to form and maintain relationships with other people despite the trouble they might cause us. If you have an interest in learning more about Stoicism, or if you want to explore answers to some of life's most significant questions, please continue watching this episode. Also, let us know what you think in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In the Meditations, Marcus explains the nature of this social duty. The gods, he says, created us for a reason. Created us, as he puts it, for some duty. In the same way that the function of a fig tree is to do a fig tree's work, the function of a dog is to do a dog's work, and the function of a bee is to do a bee's work. The function of a man is to do man's work, to perform, that is, the function for which the gods created us. What then is the function of man? Our primary function, the Stoics thought, is to be rational. To discover our secondary functions, we need only apply our reasoning ability. What we will discover is that we were designed to live among other people and interact with them in a manner that is mutually advantageous. We will discover, says Musonius, that human nature is very much like that of bees. A bee is not able to live alone. It perishes when isolated. We will likewise discover that, as Marcus puts it, fellowship is the purpose behind our creation. Thus, a person who performs well the function of man will both be rational and social. To fulfill my social duty, to do my duty to my kind, I must feel a concern for all mankind. I must remember that we humans were created for one another, that we were born, says Marcus, to work together the way our hands or eyelids do. Therefore, in all I do, I must have as my goal the service and harmony of all. More precisely, I am bound to do good to my fellow creatures and bear with them. And when I do my social duty, says Marcus, I should do so quietly and efficiently. Ideally, a Stoic will be oblivious to the services he does for others, as oblivious as a grapevine is when it yields a cluster of grapes to a vintner. He will not pause to boast about the service he has performed, but will move on to perform his next service, the way the grapevine moves on to bear more grapes. Thus, Marcus advises us to perform with resoluteness the duties we humans were created to perform. Nothing else, he says, should distract us. Indeed, when we awaken in the morning, rather than lazily lying in bed, we should tell ourselves that we must get up to do the proper work of man, the work we were created to perform. Marcus, it should be clear, rejects the notion of doing our social duty in a selective manner. In particular, we cannot simply avoid dealing with annoying people, even though doing so would make our life easier. Nor can we capitulate to these annoying people to avoid discord. Instead, Marcus declares, we should confront them and work for the common welfare. Indeed, we should show true love to the people whom destiny has surrounded us. It is striking that Marcus should give such advice. Stoics differ in which aspect of the practice of Stoicism they find to be most challenging. Some might find it hardest, for example, to stop dwelling on the past. Others might find it hardest to overcome their lust for fame and fortune. The biggest obstacle to Marcus's practice of Stoicism, though, appears to have been his rather intense dislike of humanity. Indeed, throughout the Meditations, Marcus makes it abundantly clear how little he thinks of his fellow man. Earlier, I quoted his advice that we begin each day by reminding ourselves how annoying the people we encounter are going to be reminding ourselves. That is, of their interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. If this assessment of humanity sounds harsh, we don't need to look hard to find even harsher assessments. Even the most agreeable of our associates, Marcus says, is difficult to deal with. He remarks that when someone says he wants to be perfectly straightforward with us, we should be on the lookout for a concealed dagger. Elsewhere, Marcus suggests that when we know our death is at hand, we can ease our anguish on leaving this world by taking a moment to reflect on all the annoying people we will no longer have to deal with when we are gone. We should also, he says, reflect on the fact that when we die, many of the companions we worked so hard to serve will be delighted by our passing. His disgust for his fellow humans is nicely summarized in the following passage. Eating, sleeping, copulating, excreting, and the like. What a crew they are. What is significant is that despite these feelings of disgust, Marcus did not turn his back on his fellow humans. He could, for example, have had a much easier life if he had delegated his imperial responsibilities to subordinates or if he had simply let things slide. But his sense of duty prevailed. Indeed, he gained a reputation for the unwearied zeal with which he discharged the duties of his great position. And all the while, he worked hard not merely to form and maintain relations with the other people, but to love them. Modern people will naturally wonder how Marcus was able to accomplish this feat, how he was able to overcome his disgust for his fellow humans and work on their behalf. Part of the reason we marvel at Marcus's accomplishment is that we have a different notion of duty than he did. What motivates most of us to do our duty is the fear that we will be punished, perhaps by God, our government, or our employer if we don't. What motivated Marcus to do his duty, though, was not fear of punishment, but the prospect of a reward. The reward in question is not the thanks of those we help. Marcus says that he no more expects thanks for the services he performs than a horse expects thanks for the races it turns. nor does he seek the admiration of other people or even their sympathy. To the contrary, the reward for doing one's social duty, Marcus says, is something far better than thanks, admiration, or sympathy. Marcus, as we have seen, thought the gods created us with a certain function in mind. He also thought that when they created us, they made sure that if we fulfilled this function, we would experience tranquility and have all things to our liking. Indeed, if we do the things we were made for, says Marcus, we will enjoy a man's true delight. But an important part of our function, as we have seen, is to work with and for our fellow men. Marcus therefore concludes that doing his social duty will give him the best chance at having a good life. This, for Marcus, is the reward for doing one's duty, a good life. Many will find that duty is the enemy of happiness, and consequently that the best way to have a good life is to escape all forms of duty. Rather than spending our days doing things we have to do, we should spend them doing things we want to do. Throughout the millennia and across cultures, those who have thought carefully about desire have drawn the conclusion that spending our days working to get whatever it is we find ourselves wanting is unlikely to bring us either happiness or tranquility. Take care, and until we meet again.